Saturday, August 1st, 2020, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Many of you have been asking through the comment section about tangibles. I've spoken about the flight to tangibles. That's what happens when currencies hyperinflate or are losing value very quickly. Basically, tangibles, it's anything you can touch or hold on to, something that is durable, I would say, that is of pretty good quality as well. I'm not here to tell you which tangibles you should have. I guess the ultimate monetary tangibles are gold and silver coins or bars. If you can hold it, it's yours and it's tangible. There's no counterparty risk, of course, with tangibles, opposed to financial assets, and they're easily transferable as well, tangibles. For example, if you leave a portfolio of stocks and bonds and you pass on and you leave it to your family, the process of liquidating that could take months, very complicated. But if you give someone a fine watch, for example, a Swiss watch, there's many of them, of course, Patek Philippe, the most famous one, Rolex, and many others. Those are very easy to pass on. You just give it to someone and they don't have to worry about going through a broker or through a lawyer. What else? Fine pens as well, I think, are good tangibles. Mont Blanc pen. There's other pens as well, many others. I suggest you look into it. There are people, of course, like Greg Manarino. I see that he loves his classic cars, his 1960s cars. That's another tangible. Of course, that requires a little bit of legal and title work. If you're going to leave it to someone, of course, that there is a little bit of title and legal work there to put it into someone else's name. It's not as easy as leaving someone a watch or even some jewelry as well, diamonds. The only thing about the tangibles that I've touched upon right now is that sometimes they're not easily marketed or sold or liquidated into the local currency. They're not as liquid as gold and silver, of course, because those are monetary metals. They are the most marketable commodities. They're very easy to sell. You can always find a gold or silver dealer, a coin dealer, anywhere around the world, I would say, or even privately you can do it these days through eBay. There's a lot of stuff that's bought and sold through eBay. You need to be careful through eBay, of course, to check that the person you're dealing with is credible. What are other examples of tangibles, and why are they good to have when fiat currencies lose value like they're doing now? Central banks, governments are inflating the currencies, of course. The central banks are obliging the government to borrow massively through creating reserves in the banking system and lending those reserves to the commercial and investment banks at almost zero, so that you can keep this debt game going. And that, of course, is the law of supply and demand. You get more and more fiat currency versus tangible goods, which are very hard, of course, to relatively hard compared to what central banks and bankers do to create. They take effort. I would say as well, stick to things that are well made, that will last a while, that have good quality as well. Golf clubs, for example, I'm into golf. Old golf clubs, I'm not sure how valuable they are, but if you keep them in good condition, there's all kinds of things, baseball cards, signed baseballs, memorabilia. There's loads of tangibles. You just need to look into what you like. And what else? Real estate is tangible. You can touch real estate. You can walk on land. Farmland is tangible. And of course, that's going to depend a lot on your legal jurisdiction, whether you can leave land or real estate to your heirs. The tax regime, it's all different everywhere in the world. In the UK, unless you leave real estate or property in trust, if it goes over a certain threshold, the value of the house, you have 40% inheritance tax. In some countries, for example, like in Brazil, there is no inheritance tax on real estate. I think in Italy as well there isn't, for example, but in other countries there is. So you need to check that yourself. I'm not a tax advisor here. So that's tangible as well, real estate. And I would say unencumbered as well with debt. If you have a lot of debt, let's say you have a huge mortgage, the loan to value is like 90%. Yes, it's tangible, but it's attached to a financial obligation. So I would say it's better to have tangibles unencumbered by debt, of course. So those are tangibles. I remember reading an article Jim Rickards wrote a few years ago, and he was talking about when he went to Italy and he met some very wealthy investors, people from very old families that have had wealth for hundreds, sometimes even almost 1,000 years. And he asked them, what's the secret? And they said, well, land, gold, and wine. So a lot of these families, and these families don't mean wine, the bottles of wine, the fine wine. They mean actually having the vineyards. So that's their secret. I'm not saying we should all try to be like that, but those are tangibles, and that's how you keep a hold of your wealth. So if those families had left money, fiat currency in the bank, for example, they wouldn't have as much wealth today. They would have been ruined by now. So that's what I'm trying to say. Another example would be my grandfather, for example, on my mother's side. When he was working, he had a small business with some partners. He, instead of having a pension, like a private pension, he built like a little block of flats in Brazil. When he died, my mom and her siblings, they got each a couple of the properties in that block of flats. And that was back in the 70s. So can you imagine if my grandfather, instead of doing that, had left a balance in the bank of cruzeiros, for example? My mom and her siblings wouldn't have had anything 10, 15 years later. But my mom still had one of the small flats last year, and we're able to sell that. So that's how tangibles, even real estate, protect people's wealth, I would say. Granted, it was quite hard to sell the property, but eventually we sold it. That's why it's important. And I think we're moving to that kind of scenario in the West, in the UK, in the US, and that's why tangibles are important. You have to really do your own research and do what you like, buy tangibles that you have a good knowledge of, buy things that are of good quality as well. That's tangibles. I think that's enough for now. And yeah, comment below in the comment section, and I'll try to keep an eye out for your questions and maybe make another video about tangibles. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great weekend. Take care. Bye.